City Council meeting of the City of Bloomington to order on August 25th, 2025. And at this time, we'd ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, if you would please go ahead and call the roll.
Councilmember Kearns. Here. Councilmember Mosley.
Here.
Councilmember Motney.
Here.
Councilmember Dannenberger.
Here.
Councilmember Straza.
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Scott.
Here.
Mayor Brady.
Here. We ready? Okay. Bear with us, folks. We have a new voting system tonight, so working out some glitches. At this time, we would like to go ahead and ask Justin Boyd if you would come forward for a proclamation. Justin, please come front there if you would. Ladies and gentlemen of the council and others present, this is a proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Justin Boyd. Whereas Justin Boyd was first appointed to the City of Bloomington Planning Commission in 2016, he's been an integral part of the commission, an active participant, devoting his time, reviewing and advising on city business related to planning, zoning, and development since his appointment. He has served as chair of the Planning Commission for the past 2 years, committing countless hours ensuring smooth and productive meetings that benefit all City of Bloomington residents. Justin Boyd has served for a total of 9 years on the Planning Commission, showing true dedication and service to the people of Bloomington. Therefore, I, Dan Brady, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, on behalf of the Bloomington City Council, do hereby proclaim and recognize Justin Boyd for his exemplary service and commitment to the betterment of the City of Bloomington and its citizens. On behalf of the entire Bloomington City Council, Justin, we thank you and congratulate you and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you. If you want to come forward, please. Thank you. Once again, thank you. Next, we will ask if there's any other public hearings. No plans? Thank you. And then we'll ask at this point if we would go to public comment. And we would like to remind those in attendance tonight who plan on making comments that public comment is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the City Council. It's also an opportunity for the City Council to listen and hear diverse points of view, to maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views. Speakers should maintain civility and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time ceased. Madam Clerk, if you would go ahead and call our first public comments.
Thank you. We will start with Mike Matika and then follow up with Jill Blair. And first, for the record, if I could just read a list of the emailed public comment that we received today. It was from Mimi Davis, Lois King, Tara Von Lusk, Adam Moore, Remy Babin, Mark P., Karen Reynolds, Greg Coos, Cheryl Bresney, Meg Bacchus, Mary Evanson, Catherine Ballard, Deb Oberg, Becky Reed, Terry Haas, Natalie Moore, Robin Walter, Tori Klingeman, Ann Eckert, Barb Hobb, Jody Slothauer, Sean Larkin, Sherry Stroll, Bonnie Crutchley, Susan Noberdini, and Dava Shao. And we'll start with you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike Matika. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening in representing our Not in Our Town movement, which has been active in Bloomington Normal for 30 years. A week ago, a flyer circulated in the community with an American flag with what looked like a swastika on it, saying that there would be a march this Saturday and making reference to the mayor and making reference to Not in Our Town. So I've come here tonight and we put on your place the Not in Our Town pledge, which is something we've been using in town for the 30 years we've been here. And it simply says that we come together as a community to stop hate, address bullying, and build a safe and diverse community. And if your spirit moves you, we would ask that you would sign that pledge with us. Would also ask if there's anyone in the audience here who's coming in support to please stand for this effort. All right, thank you. City of Bloomington has been a partner with Not in Our Town for 30 years. When we started, the late city assistant manager, Barb Atkins, was very critical to what we did. The mayors have always been supportive. And what we've attempted to do is to build an atmosphere in this community that welcomes all people. And we very much appreciate the support of the city. And I see this not as a new request, but as a continuation of what the city of Bloomington has stood with us for 30 years that Not in Our Town has been active in this community. So I want to thank you for that support. And I think our message to those who are, we don't know if this is a legitimate thing that's going around, but whatever it is, this is not the spirit of our community, because the spirit of our community is to have an open heart for all people. And I think that's critically important. And with the imagery that was used, every time I go by the old courthouse, I pause by the names of those McLean County residents who lost their lives in World War II and think about the sacrifice they made. And to see an image circulating in our community with a swastika on it is not appropriate for those memories and for who we are. So again, thank you. And I do want to give one extra commendation to Chief Symington and the Bloomington Police Department. Every department in the country wants to be community policing. Bloomington Police Department is doing it, and really appreciate seeing them out in the community. So thank you for your time and your attention this evening.
Thank you.
And next up, we'll have Jill Blair, and then to follow, Noah Tang.
Good evening. My name is Jill Blair. I am a resident of the city of Bloomington. On August 15th, I read a disappointing story on WGLT.org. According to the article, the city of Bloomington police had pulled out of a planned event at Wesley United Methodist Church. My understanding was that one of the purposes of the event was to help immigrant residents understand how local law enforcement does and does not interact with immigration and customs enforcement. Since the passage of the Illinois Trust Act in 2017, local law enforcement is generally prohibited from participating in federal immigration enforcement activities. For decades, studies have shown that immigrants are less likely to call the police when they have been victims of crime. Crimes against immigrants are historically underreported, and this trend worsens when immigration enforcement and deportation efforts increase. It is therefore understandable that churches and other community organizations in Illinois see now as a good time to educate immigrant residents about the Trust Act and reassure them that reporting local crimes will not lead to them being detained or reported to ICE. Since Chief Symington was appointed in 2021, I have sincerely appreciated his efforts to connect with immigrants in Bloomington, whether it's participating in the Festival of Joy, conducting community engagement neighborhood walks, or participating in events similar to the one held at WUMC earlier this month. Chief Symington's leadership has set the tone that immigrants are welcome and protected in Bloomington. In fact, Bloomington Police participated in an event sponsored by the Immigration Project with a very similar purpose just 5 months ago. The event was held at the library and featured representatives from the Immigration Project, the YWCA, local elected officials, and local police. You can understand then my confusion to read that the police pulled out of the event at WUMC. What changed between March and August? I think we all know the answer to that question. Mayor Brady claimed in his statement to WGLT that he didn't believe, quote, that the Bloomington Police Department had any type of specialty to talk about immigration issues. My question is, who has more specialty than the actual police in reassuring immigrants that reporting crimes won't get them deported? The fact is that if we want Bloomington to continue to be a safe community, we need every resident to understand that reporting a crime will not get them into trouble. And the best way to build that trust between residents and law enforcement is to encourage relationship building, not leave it to the immigration project or a church alliance as Mayor Brady suggested. I truly hope that the mayor will show more trust in Chief Symington's leadership and allow the Bloomington Police Department to determine when and how they interact with the community.
Next up, we'll have Noah Tang, and then to follow will be Zoe Brzbilski. Sorry.
All right, I'm actually speaking about a different matter today. My name is Noah Tang, and I'm a high school history teacher at Bloomington High School. I also happen to be the president of Strong Towns Belono and a member of the local community land trusts, where we advocate for a more incremental approach to urban planning. I'm here to ask the council to support item B on the regular agenda, as it clears up many contradictory clauses in the zoning codes that make it impossible to actually build any good infill development. Importantly, these amendments make a key distinction between lots of record and buildable lots, whereas the previous code did not. So I'm just going to actually read for all of you to make sure how important this is. Separating use and ownership to increase the potential for owner-occupied residential structures. This is from the proposed changes. Clarifying the difference between zoning or buildable lots and lots of records or legal sellable lots will not change which uses and structures can go where, but will allow those structures to be platted in a way that allows fee simple ownership. Zoning laws are intended to be about how property can be used by regulating land use, building types, and development restrictions within specific areas. Zoning is not supposed to determine whether an occupant can own the dwelling they live in. However, the way our zoning code and subdivision code interact has resulted in the unintended consequence of more attached structures, duplex, townhomes, etc., being divisible only as condominium properties, which are difficult to finance and insure, resulting in these types of structures remaining rentals, despite the market interest in ownership of these same structures. Owner occupancy is linked to lower financing costs, generational wealth building, reduced property management costs, increased property values, and neighborhood stabilization. Fee simple is important here. As a member of the Bloomington Normal Community Land Trust Board, I have many meetings with local developers on housing projects that are scaled to the traditional form of the core neighborhoods. Think walk-up row houses like you see along Locust Street. There have been several roadblocks to getting these off the ground, notably the ambiguity of the current zoning code when it comes to financing and ownership. We as an organization focus on home ownership because it builds generational wealth, increases property values, and stabilizes neighborhoods. If you want good infill development, the city needs to make it practical to build and finance these multifamily structures to allow fee simple ownership. Thinking about this from a Strong Towns perspective, allowing people to build, finance, using traditional residential mortgage and live in the neighborhood scaled multifamily is key to helping ease our housing crisis that does not only provide for massive apartment complexes on the urban fringe. And lastly, I would suggest the city really take a look and support our homeowners like my neighbor, Julia, who would like to build an ADU to support their aging family members. See what barriers are in place to people like her doing this, and please remove them. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Zoe Brzbilski, and then to follow Bethany Barnett.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Zoe Shabilsky, and my pronouns are she, her. I stand here tonight as a proud Not in Our School alumni, a Bloomington resident, a queer woman, and someone who loves this community enough to speak hard truths. When swastikas and hate-filled flyers appear in our neighborhoods, it is not just paper on a wall, it is a threat. It tells people of color LGBTQIA+ youth, immigrants, working families, and so many others that they are not safe here. I have seen firsthand how hatred symbols can affect communities of people. On the last day of school of my sophomore year of high school, I had peers bring a Confederate flag to school with images of rifles on it and the phrase, "Come and get it," written on it. This instilled so much fear in everyone in the U-High community. I helped run listening circles, train staff and students, and much more to help prove that hate has no place in our school. But let's be clear. The silence that follows is just as dangerous. When leaders stay quiet, it feels like permission for hate to grow. It tells vulnerable residents that their safety and dignity don't matter as much as those living in wealthier and better resourced part of our city. Mayor Brady, you've served this region before, and now you have the responsibility of leading the city of Bloomington, a city that thrives on diversity and building each other up. This is your moment to show empathy. This is your chance to prove that hate will never define this city. We know from local groups like Not in Our Town, the Immigration Project, Prairie Pride Coalition, Moms Demand Action, and many more, that when leaders take a visible stand against hate, communities grow stronger. Signing the Not in Our Town pledge is more than symbolic. It tells every young person, every immigrant, and every neighbor who feels unsafe that they belong here and that their city will protect them. So I ask you all directly, will you take that stand? Will you commit not only to signing this pledge, but also to create a transparent public forum where Bloomington residents can demand accountability, but also creating and be heard? Because Bloomington is watching. The youth are watching. We're not asking for empty words or polished images. We're asking for justice. We're asking for leaders who will stand with us and not above us. Hate has no home in Bloomington, but only if we say it and only if we mean it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next up is Bethany Barnett, and then to follow will be Stephen Butte.
My name is Bethany Barnett, and I'm the co-chair of the Missions Committee at Wesley United Methodist Church, and I live in Ward 3. Jesus tells us that the greatest two commandments are to love God and to love our neighbors. If you have ever lived near anyone, you know that loving the people around you can be quite difficult. We all make mistakes. We hurt each other by accident and sometimes on purpose. And I think that anyone who has ever been to a city council meeting knows just how difficult living in community with one another can be. It is hard to love our neighbors. Jesus explains loving our neighbors with a story that I would like to summarize. One day, a man found his enemy, probably someone he was taught to hate from birth. A man found his enemy beaten and bruised on the side of a road and left for dead. But instead of saying good riddance and stepping around him, he picked his enemy up, probably staining his clothes with blood, took him into town where he paid for his medical treatment and for a place to stay while he recovered. Loving our neighbors and loving our enemies is tough. It costs us time, money, and even our own peace of mind, and yet this is God's second highest commandment. As a church, Wesley UMC must follow God's law to love, even and especially the people who society often views as its enemies. But even as Wesley tries to follow God's law of love, we live in a country and in a community that has its own laws. And we must find ways to follow both the law of God and the law of the place where we live. Wesley UMC loves the immigrant community in Blono, as God has commanded us to, but we want to love our immigrant neighbors within the bounds of the law that our society commands of us as well. We want to follow both laws, but how can we follow a law that we do not know? I worry about what happens when those who keep the law do not make the law clear to the people who must follow it. And so I ask that Sergeant Kyle Nowers, as our community engagement officer, be permitted to speak about the Illinois Trust Act, as well as community members' rights, both during police stops and during interactions with immigration and custom enforcement officers. I also ask that more light be shed on how it came to be that Sergeant Nowers was forbidden by powers higher than the Bloomington police chief from doing his duty to this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll
Next.
have Stephen Butte, and then to follow is Reverend Alexis Wilson Thomas.
Thank you. Last week I was here with some complaints, and tonight I'm here to offer some support for our police department. Specifically, Chief Symington and Sergeant Kyle Nowers. In a recent interview, Mayor Brady said that he didn't believe checking with the police department that they had any kind of specialty that was going to lend to a presentation of constitutional rights and law, which was what our presentation at Wesley was to be about. I respectfully disagree with the mayor's comments. The Bloomington Police Department has a community engagement unit squad that was created by Chief Symington and Sergeant Nowers in April of 2022. Their stated focus is, and I quote, to build relationships with community members who have had a poor or no relationship with law enforcement. Wouldn't that include our immigrant neighbors? Sergeant Nowers has given 4 presentations about immigration law and constitutional rights. He teaches de-escalation to Bloomington police officers and offers a citizen's version as well. Sergeant Nowers is also qualified to give U visas. He is very well qualified to give the kind of presentation we had asked him to give. WGLT noted their event was similar to one that Sergeant Nowers took part in last March at the Bloomington Public Library. The public library. The mayor said he was concerned about safety in the case of protesters. I'd like to ask how many protests have been taken place at any of Sergeant Nowers' other presentations. While safety seemed to be a key word in the mayor's comments, Sergeant Nowers' presentations are all about safety, what to do to follow the law and to remain safe for both our immigrant neighbors and their supporters. WGLT duly noted that the move to disengage may complicate police efforts to serve a part of the community that already underreports crime. Mayor Brady was asked about how to weigh the goal of promoting confidence in police and replied saying there are a number of ways to look at the question, but really didn't disclose any ways other than saying perhaps another entity would be better to sponsor the event. Again, I strongly disagree. Community engagement unit has done a job well to promote public confidence. Chief Symington and Mr. Nowers, Sergeant Nowers, and the community enforcement unit has brought more community respect for our police department than we've had in years. The mayor commented that the police department was going to be involved in something. They should have had a more in-depth review. But the mayor could have checked with Sergeant Nowers and found out exactly what he was going to be saying, and he did not. I'm concerned about the actions the city took with Sergeant Nowers not to appear at our presentation. I hope this is not a change or a new policy because the community enforcement unit is a vital service to our community. I hope that that's not going to be a change, but that seems not to be what's happening. There doesn't seem to be any other plausible reason why Sergeant Nowers was ordered not to appear. Quite honestly, that is frightening. I officially protest those changes, and I am sure that many others in our community do as well. I fully support the work that the Chief Symington and Sergeant Nowers are doing. They should be commended instead of curtailing their work. Don't fix what's not broken, folks.
Thank you. Next.
Next up, we have Reverend Alexis Wilson Thomas, and to follow will be Beverly Bell.
Good evening. I am Reverend Alexis Wilson Thomas, the pastor of Wayman African Methodist Episcopal Church. Since I only have 3 minutes, I realize I don't have time to give you the fluff. As a Black woman and a pastor of one of the oldest churches in this community, I am angered and disturbed of the city's response to recent events. And because of the state of our nation, we cannot afford to sit by and ignore injustice when we see it. The recent complaints around Chief Symington's capabilities of office and a need for excessive oversight is absurd and has the appearance of paternalism. I felt it is ironically similar to what we are seeing on a national level in terms of Black leadership being under attack simply because of their color and their capabilities. resistance to Chief Symington's community policing model, when it has shown to be successful, begs some ugly questions with some potentially ugly answers. Under the direction of the Chief, Sergeant Nowers and his team have worked diligently in developing a safe and relatable relationship with all of the members of the community, including our immigrant population. To deny them and others access over a flyer that could have or was changed, and then use that moment to begin unnecessary policy change is what some might call subversive or manipulative. And speaking of flyers, I understand that all rumors do not need to be addressed in our lives, but when information regarding our mayor being a part of a white supremacist organization with plans to follow Project 2025 without any public denouncing or even addressing it in several spaces, again, it leads to questions with ugly answers. So I pause to ask, why does a majority white board want to challenge the competency of our Black chief while being silent and not forcing the mayor to address the implied partnership with a white supremacist, racist, fascist, and inhumane group? There will be questions, and while I pray the answers are not ugly, the optics are not favorable. So if you are with him, then just say that. But do know, and from the looks of this room, the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. So what side will you be on? God bless.
Thank you. Next.
Next up, we have Beverly Bell, and then to follow, William Gustafson.
Hello, my name is Beverly Bell, and I'm a county board member. And when I sit in this room, the same chambers you sit in right now, we make decisions. We get back to the people in a timely manner. For someone to say it's going to be 120 days to table something, or someone to say, God, you want to have, and you want violence to come to our town and do nothing, then you don't want the police chief to address helping other people like me. Sergeant Niles came to my church because I asked him, and we were having security problems. I have a degree in security. And I told him, I says, we need a camera. We need to have something here. And he went through the bases on his own time. I thought I would never speak here about a man that served this place with unrelenting love. My family, God rest their souls, would turn over in their grave. Do you know that the Klan was the birthplace in McLean County? That they used to march on Main Street? And when my family owned a jazz club where Black and white people could dance together in the late 50s, the Klan marched, and they marched every summertime. My family has done a lot for this community, and for me to stand here after being with Barb Atkins on the same day that she did not in our town, there were protests and they didn't show up. I'm really asking that we need to start dedicating the statue to Barb Atkins, and we need to do a little bit better and be kinder to each other, because we're going to be the source of what's going on in Washington, D.C. and down in Springfield, wherever the mayor learned these tactics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have William Gustafson, and then to follow will be Sherry Stroll.
William Gustafson. My house was demolished, so presently I'm staying at Tent City. I feel like Norma Ray in her movie. The bridge project seems like a good project, but I think some other aspects of it should be reconsidered. after the bridge project is completed, the homeless are still going to need homes. So I think it was 2.6 million or whatever. I don't have all the figures, and 750 to maintain it. But I think the council should reconsider how to use those funds more appropriately. And I'd invite all of you council people to go down and take a chair and sit in they look like fishing shacks that belong in Minnesota. They're at the Clayview parking lot. You can go buy them. They're little boxes, probably formaldehyde particle board on them. Looks like tar stuff. There's going to be chemical problems within those structures. But as I know, there are going to be temporary structures for people to live in during the wintertime, which instead of putting there, they could be used as tiny homes put in people's yards or on property within the city and be added on other rooms for future use rather than putting them all down there in a group. The bathrooms, I guess, are going to be separate. So people in those spaces are going to have to get up at night, whatever, go to the place. And it just seems like there's good, better, and best, that there could be a better solution to that. And the best solution would be all the people that I've talked with at Tent City say, hey, they want a home. They want to be able to go home, take a shower, sleep in their own bed. Invite all of you also to go to the mission. Sean and Aaron, as kind as the Hope Suite is doing for people, they give you a tent, sleeping bag, and a tarp, nothing to sleep on. So you're sleeping on the ground basically. And then the latrine is down at one end. There's a lady with a dog. She's like 5'6". She's got 5 foot tall. She's got a little dog. She got kicked out of her apartment. Everybody's got a different story down there. But the brunt of them is everybody wants to have a place to go home, to call home. So again, I think the city could put what's being done. I counted like 39 houses done already. So if they want to, hey, let's stop those and reconsider some budget situations and give these people a job, give them a first-time homeowners loan, give them something that sweat equity, work with Habitat or whatever to get them out of the situation that they're in. I have 5. I started out with 5. Help homeless have homes, how to live in. And then I thought, well, they need to be healthy and they need to be heavenly also, as everybody else's home is here in the community. Anyway, so I was going to start out with kindness and peace, Joe. Kiss. I can't even read. Kindness and peace, kiss. Justice and peace shall meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next up, we have Sherry Stroll, and then to follow will be Judy Butte. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Stroll, and I'm a volunteer for McLean County Be Smart. We're a nonpartisan group that promotes secure gun storage to reduce unintentional shootings by children, suicides, and gun thefts. Since 2019, we've had the privilege of partnering with the Bloomington Police Department on several occasions to spread the message that secure gun storage saves lives. That partnership has grown stronger and even more effective with the creation of the Community Engagement Unit in 2022. I would like to publicly thank Chief Symington, Lieutenant Arnold, and Sergeant Nowers for their leadership in creating and sustaining the CEU. I've witnessed the critical impact that their work has in our community, and I cannot overstate the value of the relationship building that has been accomplished. I firmly believe it has led to a safer Bloomington Normal in McLean County. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Mr. City Manager, Bloomington Police Department CEU has built a solid foundation and they haven't stopped working since. I urge you to wholeheartedly support them in that critical work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Next up is Judy Butte, and then to follow will be Julia Sutherland.
Thank you. I'm Judy Butte, and I appreciate your time this evening. Those who know me know I'm not typically a troublemaker. However, the experience of traveling with 41 others last year on a civil rights tour of the South made me realize how important it is to speak up for the rights of the oppressed. The past 2 weeks, I have been fortunate to hear 2 sermons that reminded me that we, the people, have the power and the responsibility to make our community, our state, and even our country a land that is free and safe and good for everyone. In the interview on WGLT after Sergeant Nowers was ordered not to present information at our immigration information program, Mayor Brady said that immigration is a federal issue, an issue that belongs with the Immigration Project or a church alliance. I believe that immigration is not just a federal issue. It is a state issue, and in Bloomington, it is a local issue. Most importantly, it is a human rights issue. And for those of us in local faith organizations and communities, it is a faith issue. As I believe the council realizes, the reputation of the Bloomington Police Department among the vulnerable populations in our community has improved significantly since the creation of the Community Engagement Unit by Chief Symington and Sergeant Nowers 3 years ago. The over 300 yearly events provided by this unit have inspired much trust in the police department by Bloomington residents, and that's been obvious by some of the comments made earlier tonight. I, for one, appreciate those efforts and would be devastated to see any decrease in that department's outreach efforts. I strongly encourage you to read the From the Pulpit article in Friday's Pantograph written by Reverend Alexis Wilson Thomas. She states, and I'm cutting and pasting a little, she states that Christ demands we build communities where the vulnerable are defended, to open our mouths when others are determined to shut them. Whether you personally are a follower of Jesus Christ, or whether you just care about people because you are a good person, I urge you to continue to support the Community Engagement Unit and to ensure that the residents of Bloomington are not victims of the same oppression that we are experiencing in our national government. As John Lewis said, there's nothing wrong with a little agitation for what's right or what's fair. I know you all take your responsibilities seriously. I hope I have caused you to think about what is right and what is fair for the people you represent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Next.
Mayor, we're at time for public comment, and we have 2 more people to speak.
I'll move another 10 minutes.
Second.
Moved by Member Ward and seconded by Member Dannenberger.
All right, I'll call it. Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Straza,
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. So next up, we'll have Julia Sutherland, and then the last to speak will be Rebecca DeBow.
Good evening, council members, and good evening, Mayor. I am a resident and homeowner in the Dimmitz Grove neighborhood, proud owner since 2005 of a lovely home. And I'm here to give my full support to also the group that's here in Mass. I wish I had known about that issue. I'd probably be talking about that instead of agenda item 9B. And thank you, Noah Tang, for introducing me earlier. My full support, though, goes to the ADU ordinance that's currently under discussion and will be talked about in the future later. What I wanted to do is share with you a very personal story about why I'm pursuing an ADU. I am a naturalized citizen of the United States. I too am an immigrant, as was my mother. We became naturalized at the same time in 1963. So you can do the math. But about 55 years ago, I remember this very well, my mother, who is Italian American, made me promise that I would never put her in a convalescent home, ever. And this probably resonates with anybody who has a mother or who is a mother. Please don't put me in a place where I will be forgotten and taken care of by others. You know, throughout the years, I worried and planned and dreamed about how I was going to fulfill that promise. And 20 years ago this year, my mother and my children came, we saw the house in Dimmitz Grove, and they chose it with me. And it has since become, you know, my haven, and that for my mother as well. She's now 86. And I have a very real opportunity with your help to fulfill that promise by creating a space for her that allows her to age gracefully and safely with me. So I urge you to please consider that issue very, very carefully. I also invite each and every one of you to come and see this project. I'd be happy to contact you afterwards. I would like you to see what I would envision for my mom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last up, we have Rekha DeBoe.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Rabbi Rebecca DeBoe, and I am the spiritual leader of Moses Montefiore congregation. I stand before you tonight to speak on behalf of the Jewish community here in Bloomington. But my words are not only for us, they are for every person in this city who has ever felt vulnerable because of who they are, what they believe, or how they look. In times like these, it is more important than ever to stand shoulder to shoulder across faiths, cultures, and neighborhoods to say with one voice, there is no place for hate in Bloomington. That is why I urge you to continue supporting our local police department, particularly the Community Engagement Unit, which works every day to build trust and keep open lines of communication with all our communities. There have been numerous times throughout my 10 years here serving the Jewish community that I needed to contact Sergeant Nowers directly due to immediate concerns and questions for our safety. When law enforcement and residents work together, when we know each other by name, we are all safer, we are stronger. But this is not only about safety, it is about the moral character of this city. It is about making sure that no child grows up to be afraid of who they are, no family feels isolated or unwelcome, and no one is left to stand alone in the face of hate. As a Jewish resident, I know firsthand how personal this is. But this is not just about the Jewish community. It is about every marginalized community, Black, Muslim, LGBT, Jew plus, immigrant, all of us who share this home together. We must take care of one another. We must be allied in action, not just in words. Bloomington is at its best when we lead with love and kindness. Let's continue to reaffirm that message today, loudly and clearly. Hate has no home here. Please sign the Not in Our Town pledge. Together, we can strengthen the bonds that make our city not only safe, but truly welcoming for every person. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no further
Other
public
speakers?
comment.
Are there any other speakers, madam?
There's no further public
Okay,
comment.
thank you very much. Thank you to the speakers this evening. And at this point, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And are there any members of the council that want to have an item pulled from the consent agenda? If not, I'm sorry.
Nope,
Member
I'll make a
Hendricks?
motion to approve as presented. Second.
Motion made by Member Hendricks and seconded by Member Straza. I'm sorry, was there a question? Okay. So we'll go ahead and vote. In our new system.
All right, there's no nays to announce.
Thank you very much. We'll move on then to the regular agenda. And at this point in the regular agenda, we have item number 9A, which is a discussion of the water quality update as requested by the council. Mr. Jurgens?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we wanted to provide a brief update about the city's water quality, what we're doing, some of the initiatives that we have underway. Again, just to provide an update, as this is something we continue to take serious and work on. With that, I turn this over to our Water Director, Ed Andrews, to give a presentation. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Next slide. Maybe. So our lake levels, as you know, last year we were in quite a large deficit, especially on Lake Bloomington. We've largely rebounded. We're just slightly down on Lake Evergreen at the moment by 0.23 feet, and Lake Bloomington is 0.87 feet. You can see our charting against normal pool, and we have exercised our option for pumping from the Mackinac River. That's the Mackinac pumping pool. That was earlier in April, so there's certain conditions that we must meet to be able to operate those pumps from the Mackinac, specifically a combined deficit on both lakes of 8 feet and also a base flow in the Mackinac. We've since been engaging the Corps in IDNR, Division of Water Resources, and Fisheries about the potential for waiving the combined deficit, that we can better manage our lake levels. So good positive feedback on that, and it looks as though we'll have those allowances in future years. Next slide. Water quality right now, MIB is always my drop back. Anything over 10 nanograms per liter becomes the taste and odor issue that we receive phone calls on. Lake Bloomington is way below Lake Evergreen at the moment on that, and our finished water is going out the door essentially half of when we normally see taste and odor complaints. You'll also see microcystin. That was the harmful algae bloom indicator that we've tracked continuously. The outsource lab that we use, Eurofins, is only able to report that to the nearest 10th. So it's in all likelihood a little lower in most instances. In fact, you can see that August 4th that we were at 0.03. That's a report back from IEPA. So we're on monthly monitoring with IEPA. And then we have elected to go ahead and continue doing weekly monitoring, both with Eurofins. And next slide. We're able to do those tests in-house as well. So trying to prep for the potential for our next event. Jar testing, we're doing that this week with Eurofins, where we're preparing different blends of the both lakes, provided that we have to go over to Evergreen from a volumetric standpoint. We want to be ready with our pack dose to absorb those blends at no detects with our residents. Our gas chromatographer, always say that wrong, just to reassure Councilman Lee that we've got that in action now. So we are starting to run those tests and working side by side with split samples out of the Eurofins lab. And then finally, the CAS Cube, that's microcystin testing. We're able to run those tests in-house now as well. So that's been in the last month that we've picked up those additional capabilities. Next slide. Lake management, I shared with you earlier that Lake Evergreen still has a high MIB at roughly 270 nanograms per liter. Council previously approved an optional second round of treatment on the lakes. So we have that in reserve and have been in consultation with aquatic controls. We want to hold that back as the weather cools so that we gain maximum effect when we undertake that treatment. Next slide. We actually suspended our temporary pack briefly over this summer. Our MIB levels, actually right now, Lake Bloomington is around 3.5 nanograms per liter, finishes right around 4. So we will be, as we start coming into the potential to blend, bringing that back online. We still have that permit. Also wanted to share that we have fed March through June of this year, 174,000 pounds of PAC. And I wanted to say it was $1.50. It's $1.37 per pound. So almost $250,000 in PAC just from the spring event. So there's rationale to use it when we need to use it and not just run it when we don't have to. Next slide. PAC, our permanent pack system, that is still being fabricated. We had an update with our design consultant for the other portion. So we procured the pack silo directly with the manufacturer, and that's in production now. But we'll put out a separate bid package for the foundation and plumbing work to tie that into the treatment process. So that's still targeted for late December, early January. Next slide. We also took the opportunity to change out the GAC, the granular activated carbon. Those previously were all that we had in our arsenal and took us to that 48% treatment efficiency until we added PAC and gained ourselves up into 97% or so. So those were just changed out, the first 5, I should say, in early July. So half of our primary were done then, and we'll have another round of change outs yet this fall. We had to apply some caution on, you take those filter beds down, you reduce your treatment capacity during that period. So we timed that with a reduction in demand on the system. Next slide. And then can you press the button on that, or is that a static picture? Not this past Sunday, but the weekend before was a substantial milestone on Enterprise Zone Tower, really Prairie Vista Golf Course, where the bowl was raised into final position. So this is approximately 2 hours of stop motion reduced down to 30 seconds. That project, we had budgeted at 10 million. We had a very favorable bid opening at 7.5 million, and we're still on track to land that project on that awarded budget, as well as substantial complete end of November and completion by December. Next slide is the final slide, I believe. So happy to field any questions. Hopefully I worked within my allotted time.
Are there questions from members? Member Mosley.
I have a question. I have a comment first, and thanks for the video and the slide, because that's right across the street from my house. And so that was fantastic. The most impressive part was watching them paint the City of Bloomington sign on both sides. So that was impressive. My question for you, though, is regarding, you mentioned when you first started, and it's been a while since I've kind of lost some of my expertise in this, but with the MIB for Lake Evergreen, and you talked about on average, it's about what you're expecting is anything under 10. And so can you talk a little bit about Lake Evergreen, how those numbers are so substantial, and how do we get that down?
Yeah,
from MIB?
so I apologize. Finished water at less than 10 nanograms per liter. So raw water, we routinely experience higher amounts, but we can only chase that up, or previously could only chase that up so high because we only had the GAC capped filter beds rather than the ability to add PAC. So we have achieved up to 98% removal efficiency. And you caught me doing some math in my head, but I think we can go up to around 400 nanograms per liter raw at 98% and get that down to 10. I do that right? I think so. close. I mean, but obviously well, I shared with, the follow-up slide, jar testing. So we're doing trial mock-ups at different pack doses to be able to anticipate how we would bring a blend in without having, finished water exceed 10 nanograms per liter.
Other members? Member Lee?
Yeah, just kudos to you and your staff on the project. We all know how projects can go over budget and over time. So for you guys to be on time and on budget, that's a testament to your planning and implementation. So thank you.
I'll accept that for my staff. We have a very good contractor on board as well.
Yeah. Quick question. You mentioned temperatures. Do you measure lake temperatures and how that impacts the different levels of the algae bloom? And then is there a certain temperature that you're waiting for to implement that second round?
We do measure temperature. That was one slide I cut, was the hydrosphere buoys. So we have 2 buoys, one in each lake near the inlet, that measures dissolved oxygen, pH in the lake, as well as temperature. Temperature is only 2.5 feet down from the surface based on the depth of that probe. So there is a water column that gets cooler as you go deeper, except in winter when it's frozen on the top and it's warmer on the bottom. We don't have an exact magic temperature to treat. It's been more of consultation with aquatic controls on trying to time when we would need from a volumetric standpoint to start blending from Evergreen and where the MIB levels are. So just over the last month, MIB in the raw water in Lake Evergreen, which we're not drawing from yet, was at 400, ended at 270. So it's just naturally itself, as we get into the start of fall, late summer, dropped almost a third. So, you know, I want to say that authorization was around 86,000 for that next treatment. So, you know, we try to apply, you know, some responsibility fiscally, but also recognize that we have that in our arsenal if we need to utilize it.
Any other members? And in your tenure, Ed, when was the last time the city looked at a comprehensive long-term water plan?
So 2018 was the water master plan that was pulled together, but I have engaged for an update to our source water, and that's wrapping up right now with Barnesworth, a local consultant.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you for the report. Next on the regular item, I believe we have 2 items that our city manager, Mr. Juergens, is going to speak to, dealing with the Developed Services Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so tonight, the next 2 items, these were the 2 items that were continued from the last meeting. Staff was working on these alongside and separate and apart from the Opticos report. But to some degree, they also talk about missing middle and, you know, deal with some of that type of housing. They were recommendations. Again, they came separate though from the Opticos. Based on conversations from the council, our suggestion was to go ahead and put all of these maybe on the same agenda. So, you know, maybe we're recommending the first meeting in September so that all of these can be considered. But if you want, certainly staff can come up and give a more formal presentation. It's really up to the pleasure of the council as to how they want to proceed on these. So with that, you know, happy to answer any questions, or a motion to continue would be in order, or Kelly can step up and give the presentations.
Members? Member Money?
So just to clarify, staff, our packet indicates that the desired motion is a motion to consolidate these on the agenda on September the 8th.
not to consolidate them, but to just bring them forward on September the 8th, assuming we might be ready for more discussion on the Opticos report at that time. And again, it's not related to Opticos, but and Kelly, I'm looking to you to make sure I'm saying this right, but these could be considered part of missing middle. So we didn't want to, staff didn't want to make it appear like we're trying to pull a fast one and get a couple of things approved. But these are issues that have come up separately that we want to present to the council. Staff is recommending approval of these. So one option again is to just move these and we can have a larger discussion about it at a future meeting. But again, we can also do the presentations tonight and have questions tonight on them.
Well, I guess I would just say that, when reading the packet, it's saying that the recommended staff action was to motion for this to be discussed at length on September the 8th. To do otherwise today, might cause some folks who might have come here this evening to share their comments not to be here. So in light of that, I would motion that we take the staff's recommendation to discuss these items on September the 8th, as noted in the recommended motion in the packet we received.
Second.
Before we go with the motion, then, except Member Mosley has a question, I think.
Yeah, I have a question. When I saw it on the packet that we were looking at moving it back, and I apologize for asking in this forum, can you explain, like, because I remember in the last meeting that we talked about that there was some contractors or people that were ready that this would delay. And when I saw that that's how the packet was designed, I was just questioning that aspect.
Yes, there are some projects that are waiting on, if these are to see whether or not these are going to get approved or not. One of them is Kelly, and I'm looking at you again, a townhome project, I believe off of Leslie Drive. And then there are some other ADU properties that are waiting. My understanding is we have not been told that if it doesn't get done at this meeting, they will go away. They're just going to wait and continue to see what the council does with these. So I do not believe that we're jeopardizing anything by pushing this to the next meeting in September. The reason that we had to put this on here is because at the last meeting, it was tabled to this specific meeting. And again, we just wanted to make sure, assuming the council might want to have a comprehensive conversation about all of this type of stuff, because it's related, but it's not related, but it's close enough that we want to make sure if the council wants a larger discussion and give larger direction on this type of housing, we can do that all at once.
Thank you.
Member Hendricks, you have your light on earlier? Question?
No, I was just seconding that motion to table. I think that then staff has requested that we should follow through.
Okay.
Just to clarify, it's a motion to postpone, right? To
I'm
a
sorry?
date. It's a motion to postpone to a date certain, correct?
And can we take both items? Since the same is being requested for both items that is on the agenda, which would be item C and, B and C.
Yes.
So let's go back to that
So
motion.
to make sure I articulate the motion correctly, then we are motioning to, Councilmember Ward, what was the word you suggested?
Postpone.
again?
I'm just reading from the recommendation, but it's motion to postpone until September 8th.
Motion to postpone until September 8th for both items 9B and 9C.
Yes, thank you.
And did you second that, Member Hendricks?
Yep, I did and still agree.
All right, good. All right, then, Madam Clerk, if you'd call the vote, please.
It is going now. Right, and it passes. Just one nay to announce. Councilmember Kearns. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item under the regular agenda, which is, I believe, item D, which is a consideration regarding an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year ending April 30th of 2016 And City Manager Jurgens.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm going to turn this directly over to Deputy City Manager Sue McLaughlin to go over.
Thank you, Manager Jurgens and Mayor and City Council. As you know, we purchased some property, the former Owens Nursery, and this is the next logical step before we go any further is to take a look at the property, figure out, what makes the most sense. Do we keep buildings? Do we tear them down? What's the circulation going to look like and those kinds of things. Before I start the next slide, I just wanted to put in there that how this worked was we did an RFQ for firms. We received 10 proposals and then we interviewed 3. And there was a team of 5 staff members that reviewed all of the proposals and chose. So that's how we got to this point. Next slide, please. So what we're looking at doing is getting a concept development plan. So this is a little more rigorous than a basic concept plan. It's going to include a number of things, which I'll walk you through. The campus is going to include offices, your solid waste, streets and sewers, fleet, our citizen convenience center. We have to move that because of the East Street Basin, and then stormwater detention will be a part of that property. We're looking at sustainable site development, looking at your stormwater, what are the best uses and practices for, I can say it, sustainability. Do we reuse the structures? Are we going to tear them down? Are they reusable? What is reusable and what isn't? Circulation, getting in and out of the property. We're also looking at being able to create an entrance and exit off of Mercer, which is to the east. And then also providing some layouts once we decide what's the best way for the whole area to function. Next slide, please. One of the things, the very first thing we're going to do is start researching. They're going to look at a number of things. The outdated BKV study from 2019, because that reviewed the existing facility for space needs. Obviously, we're moving as well as things have changed since then. We're also going to interview staff, and that is going to include the people that are actually going to use this property. So it's going to be front-end users, superintendents, as well as city council, administrative staff, and others. Next slide, please. One of the things they are going to do and provide is some environmental review. We did do a phase 1 study earlier on, but this is a little more detailed. They're going to look at our wetland. Does it exist? If it does, where is it? Because that may affect how we lay out the property. Are there any endangered species? We hope not, but we'll double check, make sure we don't have to save a space for some owl. Floristic quality assessment, look at, what do we have growing out there? Prairie grasses, trees, whatnot. And again, wildlife habitat. Are we going to affect, whether it's breeding grounds or those kinds of things? Next slide. We're also going to do a site analysis. As I said, we're going to look at circulation, ingress, egress. Where do things make the most sense? This is an old slide. This was something we kind of threw together when we were talking about where things would go. So this is in no way going to look like what it's, going to be proposed. But again, looking at the existing buildings, many of the greenhouses are going to be gone soon. We had some interest in taking those buildings and reusing them. We're also going to look at stormwater again, kind of do some calculations, figure out where everything drains. Space planning, they're not just going to look at the old study, but they're going to look at currently and then the next 10 to 20 years, what are our space needs to make sure that there's growth for that. One of the things they discussed doing is looking at the existing building and then providing for space if we want to add on, those kinds of things. Structural placement, circulation. Again, Where are pedestrians going to come in if we have a CCC again? You know, how are the solid waste trucks going to get in and out? Which ones are going to be public access? Where are the gates and the fences going to go? All of those types of things. Next slide, please. Then they're going to give us an idea after they do the space needs for concept floor plans. So this is not going to be set in stone as you would think like as part of the design before we bid or build it. This is more of a concept of, okay, here's your one big building and here's where your garage should be, where your fleet should be, and where your offices should be. So it's going to be kind of generic, but at least give you an idea. Also vehicle and equipment placement. So it's not only where you're going to park your trucks at night, where you're storing things like all of your snow plows during the winter, and what makes sense for the parking. And then some ideas for exterior design. Obviously, when we go to design build, then you're going to get into materials, colors, all of those things. This is really just going to be a vision of, you know, what you think it's going to look. They will make some recommendations on what they think would make, you know, sustainability, colors, neighborhood areas, materials that will last, those kinds of things. It'll just be recommendations. Next slide. And then they're going to provide us with a cost and schedule, the scary stuff. They're going to give us an estimate of a total project cost. That's usually going to be based on kind of an estimate of per square foot. Obviously, that will be taken into effect that it's today's dollars. They may project out, okay, if you're going to build, let's say in 2 years or 5 years, it might, you know, you might want to escalate it X amount. And then they're also going to give us an estimate of the schedule. So, if, you know, if you start now, is it going to take 18 months, 2 years? So those will be good things to provide us a roadmap for the next steps. Next slide, please. And then, of course, the big ticket. The cost is $154,740. It would be a budget amendment to come out of capital projects. We did discuss this with Scott, our finance director, you know, as an expectation of around $150,000. And they think it will take about 4 months to complete from the date we start. So if you approve it tonight, we will notify them and hopefully we'll have something by late fall. Any questions?
Thank you. Do the members have questions of our Deputy City Manager? Member Monty.
I just had one question. You mentioned a BKV study. I wasn't familiar with that acronym. Would you mind sharing what that 2019 study was that you mentioned?
Yes, that is a firm, BKV.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
they're architects.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
and I
you.
guess they did a space needs of our old Public Works campus back in 2019.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick question. You mentioned.
Member Leaf, sorry.
Sorry. You mentioned the entrance exit off of Mercer, but in the map I didn't see, like, right next to Mercer is just a big field, right?
Correct.
Okay, so like,
But we would need to build, get a curb cut, and then build an actual exit and
and then we'd
entrance.
be blocking off that exit that's currently on Morris C, I think. Is it?
No, this would be an additional access. And part of this plan will also be deciding what's public, what's private, that type of thing. Do we just go in and out, or do we just go out or in, you know, those types of things.
Thank you.
Other members, questions or comment? Thank you very much, Deputy Manager. I think in my opening comments, I might have said 2016. I believe it's 2026 budget we're talking about as far as
Fiscal.
the funding goes for an adjustment. Can you speak to the $154,740 from the standpoint of where we're actually bringing that an amendment to the budget and what we're doing exactly?
I'm sorry, where?
Yeah, in other words, where are we pulling those particular
Oh,
funds
yes.
from?
Yes, general funds and, but that'll be transferred through the capital projects. So it is coming from our fund balance. There was a list of capital projects that come out of the fund balance, go through capital projects. Mr. Rathbun could probably explain a little clearer than I am, but.
Okay, no, that's fine. And in regards to any type of work occurring at this location, you had made mention like the greenhouses eventually coming down and things like that. anything like that would occur after this conceptual plan is created?
The greenhouses are currently being dismantled, I
Okay.
believe, but the rest of it would be based on this recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other members with questions?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion by member
Second.
Hendricks and seconded by member Mosley. He beat you to it. All right. Madam Clerk, would you go ahead and vote, please?
Councilmember Kearns, can you vote one more time? If it didn't come through, I apologize. And Councilmember Lee. Okay, that's okay. If you want to just verbally vote, that would be great. I can do it on this. end.
Yes.
Councilmember Lee, how do you vote?
Yes.
And there's no nays to announce.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we'll go to the Finance Director's report and City Manager Jurgens.
Thank you again. Turn this directly over to Scott Rathbun to give us our monthly report.
Thank you, City Manager Jurgens, Mayor, Council. We are 3 months into the fiscal FY26 year. This will be the first report. While we're 3 months in, 25%, it's still very preliminary. We only have 1 month of sales taxes, so the report will be somewhat abbreviated as far as my comments go tonight. But we can kind of like describe the budget, do some reminders on that, what's occurred so far related to amendments, related to the downtown streetscape, and some insight as to where revenues are trending. Next slide, please. So first of all, I just want to describe the layout of this exhibit. Since it's the first time for the fiscal year, out to the far right, we show what the budgetary change was between FY25 and FY26. So the reason we want to highlight that is when we're showing variances for the current fiscal year, if we show a significant increase or decrease, you can kind of put that in perspective related to how much we took the budget up. So for example, rolling down this exhibit, we have $1.1 million in income tax related increase for the fiscal year. Income tax, the year to date shows a $5,594 negative variance, but we've taken that budget up $1.1 million over prior year. So we're doing just fine right there. I'd like to highlight the $1.6 million almost in local use tax reduction from FY25 to FY26. I've just talked about some legislative changes that have occurred at the state level that went into effect on January 1st of 26, related to the level of playing field legislation, online retail sales, and the taxes that are collected for those sales. They've closed some more loopholes at the state level. So that tax that used to come in from online retailers in the form of local use tax is coming in the form of home rule and state sales tax. And we were provided insight into that, given some heads up from IML related to a decrease in local use tax for this coming year. They do projections on that. So we just did kind of a 1-for-1. We reduced local use tax based on their projection and increased sales tax, state sales tax and home rule by that same amount because we weren't sure of the impact. And I'll get into the impact of what we're seeing in just a moment. So you're not going to see a 1-for-1 there where you see a $1.6 million decrease in local use, but only a $357,000 increase in home rule and $108,000 increase in state because there were some adjustments related to grocery tax, et cetera, that we reduced out of this current fiscal year. So wasn't 1-for-1 when you're looking at that comparison. Replacement tax down at the bottom, $1.6 million reduction, and that was based on trends that we were seeing coming into this fiscal year and some projections we were receiving from IML and the state. Now moving over to the actual year-to-date variance, some positive, very positive news here for home rule and state sales tax. So you can see between those two, we're $1.6 million over budget, projected budget year-to-date. That's just 1 month, but we ended the year FY25 with some positive variances as well. So if this continues, This will go a long way to addressing some of the challenges we spent a lot of time talking about when we adopted the FY25 budget. There has been some variances from month to month. You can see the year-to-date percent variance is 29% over for home rule, 19% for state. There was one month, previously that exceeded that. And there's been other months that have been under that. So we're trying to get some visibility on what that projection might look like by looking at the actual retailers from the Department of Revenue reports year over year, those online retailers. And just a reminder to council and the community, the home rule sales tax, 10% of that goes to the streets and 10% it goes to county mental health. So that's not just a 100% direct impact to the general fund, but as I indicated, if that trend continues, that will go a long way towards addressing some of the challenges we discussed when we were going through the FY25 budgeting process. Going down the year-to-date budget variance, local motor fuel tax, $30,000, almost $31,000 ahead through 2 months. It does appear that what I've been referring to as a rebound in local motor fuel tax is sticking. So we were trending historically over the last few years at more like $4.2 million annually. And we took the budget down to $4 million because of last year's trend and how we ended the previous fiscal year. That looks like that is rebounding to that $4.2 million level. So that is encouraging. Last comment here for this evening on the major tax revenues, replacement tax, PPRT, personal property replacement tax. That's all off to the far right. You can see we took the budget down by 1.6 million. This is the revenue category that the state has been doing some clawback recovery on that they overfunded for a few years. This line item is down $3 to $4 million from its height about 3 years ago. So a significant impact to us in doing our projections back at that time. Through the first 2 payments of the year, we are down $182,000. However, the Department of Revenue has come out with projections saying that our revenues should exceed last year. So there's a little bit of divergence there. I don't know if that's a proper term between what we've seen in the first 2 payments and the projection the Department of Revenue has provided. You can see at the far left column that we've budgeted 2.6 million. In FY25, we realized 2.8 million. So what we were thinking initially going into these first couple of months that we were going to have another reduction in PPRT for the fiscal year. The Department of Revenue is telling us there should be a rebound. So we don't see the next payment until October. So we're hopeful that that's going to take a swing, but it remains to be seen. So in general, the sales tax categories are very encouraging, very positive for the city. That legislative change is having a very direct impact. There is a little offset, excuse me, in local use tax, the $146,000 under year to date. We captured most of that reduction in the budget, but since it's trending higher in sales, state and home rule, it's going to be trending a little bit lower in local use tax. Next slide, please. So it's early this is a general fund income statement. So first revenues, I'm not going to go through this exhibit because it's early for trends to highlight, but I do want to highlight the budgetary changes that have occurred and how it's showing right now. So the use specifically related to the use of reserves. So initially when we adopted the FY26 budget, we adopted a $3.3 million use of reserves that was primarily related to the front and center project. That was nearly $4 million. During the budgetary process, we did a lot of cuts. We pushed out a lot of equipment. We actually came up to a point where we cut so much, we had about a $600,000 savings. So that's why the initial use of reserves did not match exactly to the front and center project cost, which is about $4 million. And then recently, council approved the budget amendment for the downtown streetscape. So that's a $10.3 million budget amendment for the general fund. We're going to be transferring $10.3 million to the capital improvement fund, which is where we execute those projects. And that I'll highlight that in a moment. Next slide, please. So for expenditures, the trend does hold true in a couple of categories. You can see salary and benefits are trending. We were 3 months in, that's 25%, but it's still very early to kind of associate anything we're seeing there on those expenditures. But just kind of link it to the revenues and the use of reserves. The transfers out went from our original budget of 6.6 million to 16.9 million. So that was the budget amendment for the $10.3 million downtown streetscape. So we've increased the budget $10.3 million for transfers out to go to the capital improvement fund, a separate fund. So this is just the general fund. And then I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the mechanics related to budgetary discussions that the budget manager and I have with administration. So there was a budget amendment was approved by council. We need to do the transfer. Many times we wait to do those transfers until the project's being executed and the expenditures are occurring. But we know we were going to have some unplanned needs in the capital improvement fund. One of them is the public works campus site review that was just approved. So by executing the transfer to the capital improvement fund, now the capital improvement fund will actually earn interest on that 10.3 million. Otherwise, we'd leave it in the general fund, which is beneficial there as well. But it was kind of an assessment of where do we think we're going to need those funds in the cleanest operation. Let's do the transfer. The interest that's earned at our bank, we're receiving a very good rate from our bank right now. That's going to accumulate in the capital improvement fund until those funds get spent, and that'll help us address unplanned needs. So that's just some of the sausage making related to how we handle some of the budgetary transfers, et cetera. And then right now we're showing there's a lot of information here, but we are projecting about a $40 million use of unassigned reserves for FY25. Next slide, please. And then the other enterprise summary exhibit, again, just to highlight some of the mechanics. In the year-to-date actual favorable, unfavorable, you can see that the water fund is showing a $35 million positive year-to-date position. So we do cash-based accounting basically for the budgetary reporting. So we did the bond in June, $33 million in revenue, even though it's a borrowing, but that's the way it's reflected. So that's why we're showing $35 million in year-to-date favorable activity. But we do have almost $22 million budgeted in capital projects for this coming year. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, this has come up before, was solid waste. Another example of how we handle, how we're reporting from a budgetary standpoint. I did just say that we reflect on a cash basis, but we do include purchase orders. So encumbrances, we consider those 100% spent from the get-go. So with solid waste and landfill contracts, et cetera, we show those day one, even though they're a contract for the whole year. So that negative year-to-date amount showing there of 1.1 million, I mentioned the 35 million. With water was 27.9. I was looking at the wrong line there. For solid waste, it's 1.1 million. That will turn towards the positive as we proceed through the year. And then the last comment from this exhibit is the revenue trend. Last line at the bottom, all the enterprise funds are trending with budget, with plan. So that is looking good as well. Next slide, please. As usual, a reminder to council and the community, all this information is available online. Next slide, please. And any questions or comments?
And with that, are there questions or comments from our finance director? Thank you very much. Next, I think our city manager has discussion at this time.
Thank you. And again, appreciate everybody's patience tonight as we transition to a new agenda management system. Our old system was no longer being supported, so we'll continue to work out the kinks with this. We know there might be some issues, with it being user-friendly, and we're trying to get all of those issues addressed, but appreciate everybody's patience. If you could go to the next slide, Catherine. Wanted to give a preview. We are down to being one of the top 100 finalists. Make sure I say all this right, Billy, for a Lovett Foundation grant. And soon we will be giving out information that if we make the top 50 via voting, that we will be in receipt of finances to do 10 concerts in our downtown. So within the next few weeks, I think early September, we will be providing information on how people can vote. And if we can get into the top 50, we will receive about $40,000 to put on another concert series, which would be huge for this community. So again, just kind of watch out for this. Next slide. Wanted to just take a moment. Last Friday, we officially closed the Market Street Garage. We've got some temporary markings to indicate that it's closed, and we're boarding up some things. You'll continue to see that we're improving the security and the fencing around this to make sure it is secured. This saved probably close to 300 to 400,000 in lieu of putting more repairs that again was only going to buy us until about 6 months in keeping this garage open. I want to give a big shout out to our staff, Billy Tyus, Sue McLaughlin, Chris Spanos, Russ Waller. So many people were involved in trying to help figure out how we were going to take 200, 250 tenants of this garage and get them parked in other locations in our downtown. And they did a fantastic job getting that worked out. We're still signing some leases and we're still figuring some things out, but this has really gone about as well as we could expect, and appreciate the downtown businesses and the residents for being flexible with us as well. Next slide. To that end, you've probably seen that construction has started on stage 1 of the downtown. We have opened up a number of visitor parking spaces, and we're doing leases for visitor parking as well. What I want to encourage the council and the community during this time to make sure we're visiting these businesses. We've got lots of parking for people. These businesses are still open. So encourage you to have lunch, to go down there and visit some of these businesses during this transition. Lots of different parking options. Next slide. And then finally tonight, a lot of discussion tonight about the community engagement unit. Have a picture up here of kind of what they were doing at the Cultural Fest over the weekend. Just want to confirm to the community and to the council that this unit remains operational and isn't going away anytime soon. We do believe the type of work that they do is essential. It's part of their strategic plan. I will say that there were some issues that were brought to light with the immigration flyer that inferred PD was going to speak about what to do during an ICE raid. That is counter to what our policy is, and it is inconsistent with what we've said is we have nothing to do with immigration enforcement. So, appreciate that concerns were raised about that, and I'd be happy to meet with anybody if they want to talk about that further. I don't think it was intentional necessarily on anybody's part, but it did shed light on the fact that we need to make sure that our policies are tightened up a little bit more. And so when we're putting our logo on something or when we're speaking at something, we make sure it's clear that we're apolitical, that we are not affiliating with any specific political views. But we do understand it's critical to continue to raise awareness and to speak on what the actual law is. As to this one, we want to make sure that the immigrant community knows that they can report crimes to the Bloomington Police Department, and we do not ask your immigrant affiliation or your status in line with the laws that are governed by us. And so our police department is working on some new protocols, some new systems we'll put in place, but we're excited about that, and we'll make sure we continue that moving forward. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Members of the council and comments? Member Hendricks?
Yeah, I'll be very brief just because I think the community spoke loudly enough, but I just wanted to lend my voice in support of Not in Our Town and the efforts that you have made and the comments that you have made tonight. I very much and very easily have my signed pledge here to combat hate, racism, bigotry within our community, which is something that I have always stood for and stand for as an educator as well in the community. I also appreciate the city manager for shedding additional light on the situation, and I look forward to, knowing as it relates to the immigration events, and I look forward to knowing exact policies so that we can continue to have events that educate all residents, regardless of immigration status within our community, so that they know their rights and protections and how to navigate the law. Thank you.
Member Ward.
So are we in council member discussion, or are we still responding to to the city manager because we skipped over mayor's discussion. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah, I'm going to comment when I'm ready. So if you're ready now, you can go ahead
it
and
was just
ask
going
any
in the
questions.
order of the
Yeah,
agenda.
I changed the order.
Okay. So I want to thank all the people who showed up tonight and spoke up and showed leadership in this community and showed courage in this community to speak truth to power and to speak truth in the face of evil. As somebody whose family personally has suffered from real live Nazis, as somebody who has personally been slandered and tarred with Nazi symbols, that not swastikas, but other symbols, it is time for our community leaders to be leaders and stand up and speak up. Words speak loudly, actions speak louder, but silence screams. And this is the moment where each of us on this dais has an opportunity to break our silence and to speak up and to denounce the kind of hatred that has been spewed in this community again. Last go around, crickets. When some of us on this dais were targeted by this kind of hatred, now's the time to speak up and to show some leadership. You can sign a pledge, and I would ask that the city clerk please take my pledge and pass it along. And I challenge every one of my fellow members here to break your silence and sign that pledge. Break your silence because it's screaming right now. Denounce this.
Thank you. Member Scott?
Thank you. I do want to echo some of the things that people have said because I think it's important to underline council support as well. So McLean County Unit 5, where Ward 9 feeds in, had a wonderful post today. Said, "We are so thankful for the amazing partnership we have with our friends in law enforcement. Since the start of school last week, we've already had several opportunities to connect with them. Each one has been a great reminder of the positive relationships we share. Our school resource officers play a vital role in our buildings, and we're also fortunate to have strong relationships with community officers like Officer Bachman, Officer Park, and Officer Nowers. Thank you for your dedication to keep our students, families, and staff supported and safe. We appreciate all you do." And then just the idea that when a nebulous threat happens in our community, that folks know who to reach out to is invaluable. So just want to emphasize just how appreciative I am of Chief Symington for starting this unit. The benefits are unmeasurable. Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to the tech team. They are there week after week, meeting after meeting, supporting the technical needs of the council meetings and having to switch systems and help us get ready for it and all that. Just wanted to say thank you for your unrelenting work and support for these meetings. So thank you.
Any other members? Member Kurtz?
Yeah, well, first off the top, I want to echo the statements that my other council members have made that, I do not stand for the flyer that came out and that I appreciate everyone coming tonight to speak their words. They can say them much more eloquently than I can. So I echo all the sentiments that you gave this evening. And I just wanted to provide another example of the great work that the community engagement unit and the effort that they make to reach out to the community and then offers us as council members opportunity to have access to talk to you, to come to your door. Sometimes unexpectedly, we went to a neighborhood walk on the 14th in Grandview and Alexander Estates. It's in my ward, in Ward 1, and got to talk to a lot of people. And I walked around with Chief Symington, Sergeant Nowers helped organize that. And those are, and I think a lot of our council members have been able to participate in those walks. And it's an amazing opportunity to get to talk to people. Sometimes it's just to see, is just to show your face. They might be a little taken off guard. I got a couple voice messages after the fact saying, I didn't have my words when you came to my door, but I do have things I want to tell you about. And so I just applaud the work that our police department is doing in this way. I know we've started to engage Public Works because a lot of times people want to talk about that too. It's not just about safety and police and things like that. It's everything in our city. And so I appreciate the efforts that our staff is going through to make themselves and us as elected officials accessible to you all. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Member Mosley.
Yeah, I also want to echo the sentiments that were stated, and I want to comment as well on a few things that were said as well in the comments and up here. First, Mike, thanks so much for your patience and your personalized notes to us as well regarding this topic, because I've had some conflicts with this approach and the pledge, not because that I don't recognize the importance of the pledge or the intended purpose to unite our community. When you have messages like this, because there's a target that we're trying to address, at times those messages can get skewed. And so I think the intent has always been great. But I do want to just echo, I know, our council person stated that, Councilmember Ward, that we want our voice to be heard. But I want to recognize that first, our mayor, as well as all of these council members, are people that are trying to serve our community as well, and not defend if it's assumed that there's silence. But I just wanted to share my own perspective, and I wrote this down. As a Black man, I sometimes feel that a pledge is not always experienced as empowerment. At times, a form of reverse pressure, it can feel like. And some of the communications that we got this week, and I'm sure you guys got them as well, seem that we're targeting anti-bullying, anti-bigotry, and at times it can come across in messaging, and the deliverer is that I'm being bullied to stop a bully. And so just ask us all as we try to unite the community, and I'm 100% behind this, is the fact that we're just sensitive of each other and the message and how it's conveyed. Because I think the most important thing is what we had tonight, dialogue. And a lot of these messages came across, and I decided I'm writing out my pledge, not because I didn't believe in it before, but because there's the emotional aspect of that as well. And so it's similar to when that flyer came out, the emotions that so many felt. So thank you all.
Any other members, comments? Member Jurgensen, sorry, City Manager Jurgensen.
Thank you. I was remiss. I was going to say, obviously our community engagement unit does a great job, but our police department in general does a great job. And how quickly they are able to solve crimes and bring people to justice. I would be remiss if I did not say we have an absolutely outstanding police department, and all the members in there do a great job, just like all of our city departments. But I wanted to just shine a light on them as well, because they do a lot of great work, and they're worthy of our praise. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Then it's my turn, ladies and gentlemen. And first off, I want to thank those who came and let their voice be heard, because that's what democracy is all about. Constructive criticism, that is fine. But sometimes there's things behind situations and decisions that are made that no other people know about, see, or understand. And when that leader has to make that decision, it can be very difficult. But he does it with the best intent of those people who either voted for him or didn't vote for him as mayor of the city of Bloomington, because I'm the mayor of all the people. Nobody has me except the people of Bloomington, who I represent as their mayor, whether they agree or disagree. That's been my philosophy in state government when I was elected, in county government when I was elected, and in city government when I was elected as mayor. I signed my pledge. Mike, I want to personally have you come up and pick it up. As I did when I was in the state legislature. There's no room for hate. If I have to tell you, I denounce the flyer that was out there. It had nothing to do with, it makes me sick. I'll say it again. I've said it before, publicly, privately, with all those that I consider friends that are in the audience tonight. So the real tough thing is the lead. You can follow and get out of the way. But a real leader stands up for anyone else who might be in competition with that individual and does what he thinks or she thinks is best for the community. That's what my job is. That's what the people hired me to do. And I'll continue to do it to the best of my ability. There's no room for hate. I don't promote hate, never have. I promote fairness, understanding those with difference in opinions, and bringing people together. That's what I'll continue to do, which is aligned with the mission statement of Not in Our Town. So I thank you all for being here tonight, and I look forward to working together to make sure that Bloomington continues to be the place we all call home and we love. Thank you. And with that, I think we'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Member Hendricks, is there a second?
Second.
That would be Member Dannenberger. Thank you very much. Good night. Oh, and one other thing. Don't forget the Labor Day Parade on September.
We have a
the
voice
1st.
vote real quick.
Thank you, and a
to
vote.
adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you're going to join us, Molly. The Labor Day Parade like they did at the Memorial Day Parade. Are you? Good, good. I look forward to it.